Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock.
today, we just gave our initial thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. What are your thoughts, sir?
9 out of 10 out the gate. Action
9 out of
packed, Pee
10.
Wee.
9 out of 10. All right, so what else? What else do you think about it?
Okay, so starts off, looks very conventional. Like we got the gang back together. And hey, I normally don't care about spoilers, but if you haven't watched it, I don't care. I'm just gonna say what I saw. So, we think we got the gang back together. And then, see, if you read the comic, it's Karen Page who's supposed to get killed by Bullseye. And instead, these guys, oh no, we're gonna give you what you don't expect. They end up killing Foggy. And I'm like, you killed Foggy? Foggy's not dead in the comics. And I was just like, oh man. But the way they did it, I was so totally engrossed. I was like, all right, let's see where we go from here. And then they have that really cool scene with Daredevil and the Kingpin. Or I should say Matt Murdock and the Kingpin in the diner.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. Okay. You can just feel like, the sizzle, that's starting to percolate in the pan, and they're both controlling it with those cuts, to both actors, the tone in their voice, like at any second, either one of these guys, Matt's just gonna jump up and start beating him in the head with the billy club, or the Kingpin's gonna flip the table, rush Daredevil, have him pinned up against the wall. You can just, I mean, literally that contained energy that they've got right there from two guys who are just born adversaries. It was an excellent scene. Excellent scene. The only thing that kept it for me being a 10 was the fact that they killed Foggy. Foggy is too important. Um, he's just he's been with Matt since the beginning. He's alive in the comics. I don't really see the reason why to kill him as opposed to Karen Page, who is dead and not in the comics. But these guys always got to do something different. But it definitely started the series off running. Okay, so yeah, 9 out of 10 out of the gate. Out of the gate.
For me, I struggled with them, especially because I think the Bullseye scenes, especially the first one where Daredevil fights Bullseye in season 3, it was such a great fight. The fact that it made sense in the same way the comic book was, whereas Daredevil is way better than Bullseye in the fight in the
Which
Netflix
fight?
series.
Which fight?
Oh, he's there to kill Foggy, and he throws like the billy club right at Foggy, and what's the name catches it? Matt Murdock catches it, and he
Mhm.
looks at it, and he's like, they have this slow moment. Like I was actually at Comic Con watching this, and we were losing it. Having Bullseye in the Daredevil outfit, having him close to killing him, and then Matt Murdock coming out of nowhere, grabbing the billy club, looking at it, the slow moment. Then he's taking it to Bullseye, and then Bullseye uses everything and throws it at Matt, and Matt has to hide. After doing some damage, now he's just thrown everything. He can't. Every time he tries to go out, he gets hit by something. So it's like, so this one, the Bullseye was just, a juggernaut. Like he doesn't seem to be hurt. He just keeps fighting, and it was just a melee. So it was kind of crazy, a little crazy in comparison to what I've seen before. It was dramatic, but the hard part is that we know that Feige does not want those guys in here anymore. So you get rid of Foggy, Karen leaves, that's
Yeah.
the thing, and we get a touch of the old series. So it's kind of like, yeah, you didn't want them anyway, but you gave us that and give us, so it's kind of going work visually, and it gives you a very dramatic thing. But it's like, I know, as I say, I know Foggy's catching it. He's catching it. Maybe Karen's gonna catch it, but I know Foggy's catching it, and he caught it. And then, they kind of make a story out of the horn, like they're trying to make a story out of here's the horn back. It's like, are you kidding? He got like a whole thing of outfits. But and the other thing I've argued with friends that the difference between MCU and Netflix is that, well, not the I think the first two seasons he had an outfit. The third one was building to him because he'd been obviously Daredevil had been disgraced. Him, they played out the other part of what's the name where they had a fake Daredevil and he gets the costume. Then they played that out to effect with Bullseye in the third season. This one, he's out of costume again, and like friends of mine would say, "No, we get to Marvel. They like the costume. They want the costume." It's like, no, they don't actually want the costume. It's like Law and Order, Hell's Kitchen with a little taste of The Wire from time to time. And I'm gonna now. The other thing is, Brian Michael Bendis is a consultant on this thing.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Uh-oh.
that doesn't change. You gave it a 9, so you can't take it back now.
No,
But
that's Brian Michael Bendis's influence on Daredevil, thankfully, has been minimal. But if you saw when Ayala is killed, that's Brian Bendis's handiwork right
are
there. He
you
doesn't.
kidding me?
He killed him.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. When he was on the Daredevil series, that
Okay,
whole
so
thing with
I didn't know how far you got known that portion of it, but
Hector Ayala. Well, one, the way that they portrayed him in the comics, they portrayed him like he was some sort of has-been, and they had him on stand. He looked pathetic, and the next thing you know, he was dead. And then I was like, I can't believe this. But then who was writing it? Brian Michael Bendis. He didn't care about that character, so kill him.
the thing is, and this is the harder part, and it almost called this like the requiem for the white tiger, right? I think my brother was big on those black and white magazines. So,
Oh, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
yeah, all of that stuff. So he had like all of those things, and I was sneaking and reading them. I think I fell in love with the Marshall Rogers and the Nightwing associates of with the Karen with Misty and Colin Wing, and then there was also had George Pérez art in there. So I'm looking at this other stuff and the Sons of the Tiger, and then we have in there in the black and white, which was the page that actually sold Marv Wolfman on George Pérez, because when Pérez and Byrne got there, he was down on both of them. He liked these guys. He said they don't get it at all. And then Pérez was always trying to prove himself to Marv. And when he did that classic shot of the white tiger jumping over New York City, that was one so not full in perspective, but a perspective shot. He then said, okay, Pérez get it. He gets it. So he's learning. So that's the quintessential white tiger shot. And at the same time, I didn't, the trial, that's fine. Okay, you're having a trial. And the next thing you know, he gets killed like he's some guardian angel off the street. I'm like, yo, his necklaces are power. He got power. You don't just shoot the white tiger.
You do if you're Brian Michael Bendis.
So that was kind of that was very tough to see, because
Now he was like, you saw Lord of the Rings, right?
yeah.
You remember the second movie? Gandalf comes in, and the guy's like, "You have no power here." Yeah, that's great. That's Brian Michael Bendis. You have no power here.
Yeah, so that was, if anything, of the story. I knew he would. I didn't know how it was going to pay off, but it's a sad thing to see that.
See, this is again why I can't give it a 10, because they stuck to the story when it was time to kill Hector Ayala, but Karen Page is still alive. And the excuse they're going to give is like, oh, well, Foggy didn't want him to do it anymore. So since he didn't want him to do it anymore, that's why we had to, it made sense to kill him. But that makes no sense whatsoever. Okay? You can just say, well, Foggy changed his mind. What is this? We gonna treat regular people like politicians now? You always have to, stay with whatever you say. Like, no. Hey, I see the good that you're doing. I came around, no problem. Oh, Karen's dead. Well, she's dead anyway, so.
Yeah. The hard, the other hard part of, I don't know. I wasn't. I mean, this. Hopefully, Heather Glenn doesn't take a turn for the worse as this story goes along.
Well, she dies too, so.
So that's the other thing. You can't just keep having, such a. I don't know. It's a tough. It's a tough character to be in there, because she was obviously Matt's pincushion, and that's ultimately they had kind of, they got rid of her, but then to have her exit the series, then have her commit suicide, just kind of come on. Like she already had it bad. And then Matt finds her in a bad way. Where they had a decent exit. I think I bought the issue where Matt was, he was dealing with the death of Elektra, and he was doing dumb stuff, not just stuff that wasn't good for Heather. And then I think Foggy is like he's not with it, so he said, "Hey, how to the Black Widow? How good are you at forgery?" And he gets the letter, and she's gone. That sort of
He
thing.
has to be pretty good. She has to be pretty good at forgery because Matt wasn't able to detect it on at least on first read, and we know that his senses are supposed to be off the charts. So pretty good.
Now, I do want to address a lot of people are no, there's not a lot of people, but people like to throw out the word woke, especially with the police thing of the them dealing with a actual police issue that the police have now kind of gang-like things with Punisher tattoos. So the Marvel universe is dealing with that. Now you have to imagine um, the truth of the matter is there's nothing that you see on TV outside of a Tarantino movie that isn't already approved by the police. And how do you know there's approval? When you get to the end of the movie, there's a positive police scene. There's the Batman movie. I think there's the one with the British black girl that plays a cop, and she's being chased by these cops. And at the end of that movie, they have a positive cop scene. The other cops come to her aid. There's so many movies which have this because they can, the police, the detective and the police, cop drama had went on a downturn. So they had to introduce some of the negative stuff in there because you can see Eddie Murphy as a cop, all those things, even though they did some questionable stuff, they were all in line with the job, or even Die Hard and this, that, and the other. Now we've gone on the other side where we get to see a lot of negative cops, but at the same time, they always have, like Batman, they have the whole flashing lights. Oh, the 21 bridges, 22 bridges, or whatever that one movie was. It's about, corrupt cops. And at the end, they catch all the corrupt cops die, and the good cops come into the town. So if you're seeing this and you're thinking they're trying to get cop movies to keep happening. And they're using a lot of black cops in these movies, and they're using showing the negativity. So it's not, the police have to approve this. They can disapprove it, but no one's going to see totally positive cop movies anymore. There's no money for it. So to get to the public, they have to do showing the negatives, and they have to show the scripts to the people. They're showing it to the cops. The cops are approving it. They're looking at it and say, well, we need this. And this is the same with say you watch, what's that movie? What's it called? Public Enemy. The old school James Cagney movie where he's a criminal. At the end, the rules, and this is Hollywood policing themselves. They would do movies about gangsters, and the gangster would get it at the end. That was a Hollywood rule. It's not a storytelling rule. It's a Hollywood rule to say, hey, we showed this guy terrible at the end with this. Now the cops are coming to the movies saying, okay, we get it. We have to do it. The cop drama is kind of dull. People don't say it's believable. So now we'll give you this. So anyone going that's too woke, there are Punisher cops out there with the tattoos. And at the same time, give them enough time. Once you get to the end, you got to do, they'll have a positive cop scene.
Is that the image you were talking about with George Perez?
Not this one. This one, he's over the city, but it has the title. What's that thing? It has White Tiger in it. I think
it was Deadly Hands.
I think so. Or at least they either that or they reprinted it in there too, because it was in one of them.
All his first appearances are in Deadly Hands, and he doesn't appear in color and in regular Marvel comics until Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man #9, if I remember correctly. So it's probably in Deadly Hands. I just was hoping that was it. We could show.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you it in a second. But yeah, that would be but otherwise, it's less of him in the costume, and I'd like to see some more things. But they've had some action, some drama in all of it. So and some funny kingpin scenes where he's struggling being the mayor. So if you can see this one, this is the one.
I think I found it at the same time. Let me see if it's the same. Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
exactly the one that I found. That's
So
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
this is one where Marv Wolfman, who was definitely down on Perez,
First,
said, "You got it, you did it."
first, White Tiger. Hector Ayala is the first Puerto Rican superhero created by George Perez, who is Puerto Rican, who was then killed by Brian Michael Bendis, who is not Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
But you would think they would
Mr.
have a little bit
Diversity.
more reverence for these. This is our first character, right? First Puerto Rican character. We're just gonna kill him off.
That's the thing, and you don't, and yeah, that's the hard. The thing is, I don't know. It just sucks that we didn't get to see. This is the angle of the character. This is the same angle for Moon Knight. Obviously, Bill Sienkiewicz does it a different way than Perez, but it's just like this dance over the buildings, and I think the closest I've seen it is watching the animated Turtles movie where you see them hopping over buildings. This is some of the stuff you see Batman do in the comic books. So it's kind of tough when you have these characters where they're not Superman, but at the same time they're characters that are mainly in the air, like Daredevil. At the same time, too, hopping on lamp posts and all that other stuff, and bouncing around the city and all that. It's like, and I think, well, that's why we went back to that She-Hulk scene with Daredevil. But they had him leaping in the first episode doing that, and he had him beating up some cops. Well, let's get back to the superheroing and less of the law and ordering. And well, what do you feel? Obviously, they're setting up a new Avenger, the female White Tiger. That's loaded. That's how loaded was that question?
Hmm. How do I feel about it? I don't like it.
She has to be the shortest. She's shorter than Ironheart. Like, I don't think she's gonna grow anymore. So I think the White Tiger is well, what is it? I don't know. If you say um there's another 4'2" assassin, but it was very tough seeing that because you see him, him save the person on the train, and then he's going through the court trial. They had the heavy drama to get him off, and then he puts on his costume like Lucky Lugerio and Donnie Brasco. It's like he's preparing for his death, but we don't see it in there. We see it in this one in the most. It's like, well, you turned him into a guardian angel now. He's not no superhero. How can you do that to my White Tiger?
I didn't care. I was like, what? No, we got White Tiger 2.0. It's a chick. You're gonna get rid of this dude.
So it's and it's a costume, that obviously works on the Babe. I've seen it in the later Heroes for Hire comic, but this is a comic from my childhood. When I looked at it, oh yeah,
That
oh
original
man.
costume is great. It's not a lot of costumes that are gonna work all white, so you got to have a pretty good design. But the full face mask, the amulet, which might be the only drawback, where it's like, hey, the source of your powers, maybe you don't want them just here, where somebody might be able to get their hands on them, but people are just gonna think it's part of the costume anyway, so that's no big deal. And he's probably too fast. But if you read any of the, and that's the other thing too. I remember, like I read Rawhide Kid.
Mhm.
That turned on the Rawhide Kid. Really, I liked the character. And when they decided they were going to make the Rawhide Kid gay, I think I must have been the only person who. It seemed like I was the only person who liked Rawhide Kid because I was like, no, no, Rawhide Kid's not gay. What about these issues? But nobody else cared, and so they did whatever they wanted to do. For anyone who read, this is the thing too. You got to read. You got to read. This is really good stuff. But if you read any of those original stories with that great art by George Perez and Deadly Hands of Kung Fu magazine was always very entertaining. you would see why this character was so cool. You would be up in arms. Why are you killing him? Why are you killing him? But Bendis comes over there. He brings his own crew. So they don't care. They think everything he does. Oh, the golden one. The exalted one. And so he does these things. And you got a character that had a great history, and literally within the space of a couple of issues and episodes, this guy's, he's washed up. We never got to even know him,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And if you did, people might have been like, oh, no, 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 we like this guy. But the whole idea is we're going to bring him in just so we can explain why it is that she's the white type. Not to show how good of a character he is, but just to explain why she is, why she's a great character. So uh,
And we have,
it's tough. But when you do stuff like that, and I can't blame the Daredevil series on this, where they're talking, if you want to call them, woke or anything, because this was years before that term even came up. But the whole supplanting of one character for another, I've never been on board for. Where I'm gonna kill this character off so we can bring in his replacement.
well, the thing is, you know, you can almost do it taking if you that's your story for your new characters, not sitting around here and saying, well, I'm going to do this story, and that's going to set up, our girls group of Avengers, that sort of thing, and we're going to bring in a character that no one's seen, the what's it, the Teen Hulk or whatever they call him for real, his real identity thing, for the Teen Hulk, and change him into a gay character and all this stuff. It's like you don't for these characters that are already out here, and you have him be a Puerto Rican hero, like well now we got a Puerto Rican girl. And then and all of them are going to be, well, she'll have the angst because she lost her father, and she'll be walking around this, that, and the other, and it's
We don't care.
no fun of that sort of thing. So it's to have something, and obviously you don't have to follow. You're not following the series, so you know. Also, you want to do this. Like say, was it like Craven's Last Stand, right? And I don't think that they should have gotten rid of Craven, but at the same time, if you're gonna go out with a bang, right? And that's they can look at the stories. All right, well, this was a little more it was heavy as how they did it, but it was a big story for him. So it's like, all right, we did a big story for him. The hard part is when you have cool villains, you found that the character's cool, you want to do more. There's no one's gonna look at it and say, they're saying they probably think I'm messing up the story. It's a good story. He got saved, he tried to help the city, and he paid for it, and that sort of thing. That's a good, but no, it's not. You don't need him. You can have, a guardian angel. Just have a guardian angel that helps somebody out, and he's on trial. And I don't know, but they had to play for Matt to win, because that sort of thing.
That's exactly what they did. They reduced Hector Ayala to, in the comic world, they just reduced him to a guardian angel. He's like, hey, what were those guys who were popular like in the 70s, early? Oh, the guardian angels. That's what we'll do. We'll do a story like that. But we'll just do it with Hector Ayala.
And
those guys came from the Bronx too, right? Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, let's do that story.
Yeah, and even Lisa Evers had to get away from Curtis Lewa. But anyway, this is, I think, the way the fourth episode ended. It was a lot of tension leading up into a new mystery villain that's going into this. So a lot of the stories are ending with a cliffhanger saying what's going to happen next. And some dramatic and/or funny bits with the Kingpin. Not necessarily funny, but him having to deal with his cabinet and him having to not take the the low road and having to be diplomatic on someone who's messed up things in his campaign not campaign, but as his policies as mayor. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. I can see why a lot of people like it. The hard part is some things when Marvel like to bring in these characters and not really show respect I mean, the fact that I hadn't put it up, the picture you put up, having the Sons of the Tiger, I think, I don't know if she was a sister, and they have the character I don't remember who has the black guy with the cigar. You have a supporting cast for these characters, and you have a diverse set of characters, but you let you're gonna let Bendis win on this one when you
Well,
have the diversity that was set up in the 70s. It was already set up. They weren't sitting around. And the thing is, when you did stuff like that, when you did interracial dating with Misty and Iron Fist and the
you got to
party,
think
they
they let
didn't
it
ask
play.
for it, but they didn't ask for a public announcement to say, "Hey, look what we're doing. We're progressive." They did it. That you have them and you say we killing them for no good reason, terrible. So anyway,
They didn't. They don't care about that. These guys are like, hey, what's more diverse? Puerto Rican guy in the suit or a Puerto Rican woman in the suit? Yeah. Look how many boxes we got right there. Wait a minute. Is she LGBT? No? Man. Oh, well, that still works better. Bendis just didn't care about the character.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bendis just did not care about the character. This is very similar to Bendis coming on to, well, he did this with a lot of characters. But Bendis will come on to Superman and he's like, Candor, you know what? Let's just get rid of them. They're not really doing anything. They're sitting there. Let's just give it to these 100,000 Kryptonians. I got no story for them anyway. Mind you, most people don't even remember Candor until you bring it up. You can just let it sit there at the end of the day until it's time for an adventure. Let's kill them all. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of that. Let's change this. Let's change that. Until I've crafted the world into a form that I can tell whatever story that I want. And I mean, literally, the killing of Hector. This is when I was still reading Daredevil,
Hmm.
and Brian Michael Bendis is the reason I stopped reading Daredevil, right? Because he got on the book and the stories for me were just so ill formed. But he brought his own people. And those people had never read Daredevil before. They did not care. They said these were the greatest stories ever. He's the golden one. And by the time I was somebody who had been reading Daredevil since I was reading Daredevil as a kid since the Miller run. I had
Hmm.
came on. I had a complete collection of Daredevil, okay, at that time, with the exception of issue number one. I had a complete collection, and I had read all sorts of Daredevil stories, and nothing made me want to stop reading. But by the time I got to issue number 50 of Daredevil with Bendis, I was done. I just said, I can't read this anymore. Once it was like Daredevil becomes the kingpin of New York, I just said, this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. And I never became a regular reader again. There's like been an issue here or there that I've been able to chime in, but that guy is responsible for just totally taking me off a book that I loved very much. And I wasn't able to really recapture that until the Daredevil series came out on Netflix, and I was
Hmm.
able to enjoy Daredevil again. So, I was there for all this stuff, real time. When you see it done here, if it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, yes, that was me then. This is you now, and it's all because of Brian Michael Bendis.
All right, so I really
Still,
didn't. Hmm?
still, Daredevil, 9 out of 10. Bendis, 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I didn't really want to see his name in there, but he's there, and
Yeah, well, hopefully they're giving him a check not to do anything. Like, here's some money to stay away.
well,
Take this money, go away, don't come back.
well,
Don't write anything for us, please.
that's the other portion of it, saying you're free of them. I mean, obviously, no. Um, I don't know. The thing is, most of the time, Marvel, I feel like this portion they didn't have the comic book people connected. I know Bendis was one of those guys that was connected to the Marvel think tank with the Kevin Feige stuff, and obviously it made sense for them to break from them on the movies they wanted to do their own Civil War that didn't match the comic book outside of Iron Man and what's the name, Iron Man and Captain America fighting, but they won out. They did the right thing because of their success, and it's their want to do whatever they want. But now to come back and we're dealing with a comic book guy, but we got to keep dealing with Bendis. Like he was the guy that was. I guess he is the guy who's synonymous with Daredevil. But and obviously,
Yeah, not Stanley, not Wally Wood, not Gene Colan, who I think had the longest run on Daredevil, not Frank Miller. Not Roger Stern. Uh, I'm trying. Who else some good runs over there? Yeah, I think Brubaker's run was strong. But I mean, all these guys are pretty much after the Bendis run when he ruined a lot of stuff. But this was still at the time when Marvel was bringing on writers, not artists, but writers
Oh,
who already had like an independent following. So when they brought Bendis on, he already had an independent following on Capes. But if you read Capes, you already know this is not superhero stuff at all. So when they came and they put him on Daredevil, there was already some hype. Oh yeah, Brian Michael Bendis, and all he did was rehash the Miller story. He just really dragged it out. And one of the biggest objections I made was about 3 issues before there had already been a Daredevil story where they were like, "Is Matt Murdock Daredevil?" And they had Spider-Man appeared in court with Matt Murdock. So the general public thought Daredevil and Matt Murdock were 2 separate people. So it just didn't make any sense to rehash it again. And he decided, no, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. And everything that happened before, it didn't happen because, and to a lot of the readership, no, they had never read it before. That being said, thankfully, he doesn't seem to have a lot of influence on this show. May that continue.
No. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna stick with it, and we'll let you know some more as we get to the next episodes. There are 4 episodes in. I'm not sure how many they're going to, but we'll be able to check it out. Spinner Rack
Out.
out.